Oh,
Good evening,
did
ladies
she?
and gentlemen.
Wait a minute. Did she pass the bar?
She's studying for the bar.
Yeah,
We're on the air, sir.
I know it's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
People out there.
He's inquiring as to whether our dear Kira has taken the bar exam yet. No, she's in the throes of studying for the bar exam, which is actually a very quick process because you were all here when she started law school. So, Kira Minor Esquire,
I
hopefully
like
will
that.
come and join us
I
again
like that.
in
Yeah,
the
Esquire.
near future.
Counselor.
Susan Harrington is not able to join us tonight, but nonetheless, this is still the fun show here at Big TV. And Michael Sellen is sitting behind the Kira keyboard, and I'm Arch O'Reilly sitting here. This is the November 5th edition of the fun show.
So,
And after a very long period of time of lies and deception and hatred
And venom.
and misdirection and angst,
angst.
tomorrow is it. Tomorrow is when we determine whether the United States of America has a future in the world
Oh, we have
or
to go.
ceases to exist.
No, we have to go to all those rallies in the future. That's what we have to do. Okay.
But
We're
and it's
hoping.
interesting that you bring up the word rally because that's true, and that's the only public appearances
That
Herr Trump makes,
Yeah, well,
and they're all by invitation only. You know, I'm surprised he hasn't appeared in Nuremberg yet. You know, but did you see?
he didn't hit it off too well with that woman who was running the country, Germany.
No.
Oh.
Did you see the appearance by his vice Führer when he went, you know, hey, I'm a big deal too.
I remember.
You know.
I liked that kind of. I thought it was funnier than Bush for a change. You know.
I'm a big deal too. Tell Oprah and her Hollywood liberal friends that this isn't Hollywood, this is Georgia.
That's right.
I'll tell you, if anybody in Georgia was listening to us, tell them that this is Georgia, we don't need you anymore.
That's what we really liked.
In fact, I'm happy to say that my granddaughter is in Georgia and has been volunteering for Stacey Abrams in Georgia.
Oh,
the only
good for
thing I
you.
regret is that she didn't change her registration. So she voted here, where she's just another citizen of the People's Republic of Massachusetts voting for the good people.
Good.
In any case, tomorrow will determine the future of the United States of America after about 242 years.
Yeah.
And
I think we're going to go on.
we'll see what happens. We'll
Yeah.
see what happens.
George and
One of the things that worries me is the degree of voter suppression that is allowed to go on now that basically the courts have overturned the Voting Rights Act and really legalized a lot of this stuff. Anyway, I hope that any of you who have not already voted will remember to go out early before the heavy rain starts. Get to your polls, vote. It's really important, even though we're in the People's Republic.
we need your vote.
And vote for every Democrat on the ballot. I ask you, please, with one exception, do not vote for Jay Gonzalez.
One of my favorite Americans.
Jay Gonzalez and his Trumpish attacks on higher education in Massachusetts
You got to
are
pay.
totally disqualified from being considered.
Okay.
And I am praying that Charlie Baker gets at least 70% of the vote.
Yeah.
And you teach people that in Massachusetts you don't base your campaign on trying to destroy higher education in Massachusetts. So I
You and
personally
I
would ask you to vote for every Democrat on the ballot,
except
if you can't bring yourself to vote for Charlie Baker, okay. Just do not vote for Jay Gonzalez.
okay.
And then there's 3 questions on the ballot. Do you know what the three questions are, Mike?
I know one is about the nurses. So.
One is about the nurses, and that campaign, the No on One campaign, is the only thing in America that lies more than the Trump administration. The basic premise is that having a maximum number of patients that you can force a nurse to take care of is not a bad thing. So it's very simple when you go to the questions if you get there.
We'll get there.
Oh, I'm sorry. My mic seems to have fallen off,
Oh,
which is apparently giving
I'd
the
known.
control room fits.
I would have brought in a
And,
balloon for you.
Is that better, folks?
Yeah, it is.
All right.
Okay, stop rubbing.
Now, where was I? We have three questions, and it's very simple. Go to the polls and say yes on all three questions.
Oh, okay.
The second question is it's sort of a symbolic vote because it calls for appointing a committee to work towards a constitutional convention to overturn Citizens United. But in effect, it's just a referendum on whether the people of Massachusetts thinks that America would be better off without corporations owning outright our political system.
We got enough committees anyways,
Huh?
haven't we? We got another committee? What do we need?
And as I say, it's a symbolic vote when you
I
come
know,
down to it.
okay, and
And the last one is just to show you that not all the haters are outside of Massachusetts, is a group that's trying to overturn discrimination protection for transgender people. And this is the same mindset that wanted to say that you could only go in a public bathroom that matched your birth
Birth
genitalia
daily.
in North Carolina. You remember that a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
And I always thought it would be fun to go to their largest football stadium and stand outside the men's room and say, "Do you have your birth certificate? I'm sorry, you can't pee. You don't have your birth certificate with you." But
You think
ever
you-
since this protection was passed,
Right.
there in Massachusetts, there has not been one single incident. They're running these ads, well, any guy can claim to be a woman and go into the women's locker room or the women's bathroom, this is open season for predators and sex offenders. Well, we've had this law in the books, and there hasn't been one single incident. This is an attempt to legalize discrimination, which is never a good thing.
Never.
And
But sometimes.
and yet it's one of those twists we get on referendums in this state. Because if you want to preserve the protections, you have to vote yes. You'd think that if the people were trying to repeal a law, they'd have to get a yes vote to repeal. In any case,
Why can't Trump have
it turns out easy. You
Wait a
vote
minute.
yes on everything.
Wait a minute. I was thinking of something else at the same time. Why can't Trump have a drum and bugle corps at the rallies? I think that would be kind of nice to hear. A lot of drums, and they can drown out a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
That would be good, wouldn't
Yeah,
that be?
and they could get lovely brown uniforms.
Now that
right?
1930
Armbands, that would be
33,
nice,
Yeah, there you now. That's a change.
And that would fit in with his love for military parades.
He likes parades. He does. After France with, what's his name, Chacon, is it?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, he liked that parade, and
He
he
liked
liked
the
the
one-
parade that he saw in North Korea.
Yeah, he liked that
And he
parade.
liked the parade that he saw in Moscow. He wants his own parade.
So he came home and he said to the
He's sending.
generals
He's
and the-
claiming to send something like 15,000 federal troops to the
border.
Mexican border, and the invasion is not a caravan; it's an invasion. Very bad people.
Are
The
they gonna-
invasion is still 900 miles away.
Are they going to be allowed to carry guns with ammunition? These.
What, the soldiers?
Yeah.
I assume so. They're active duty troops.
There you are.
However, under United States law, they cannot take any police function,
Without,
which means the only legal thing they can do, which he would be very loath to suggest, is like build campsites and ferry water to the Border Patrol or, that kind of stuff, because they're not allowed to take any law enforcement actions within the United States of America. And on the other hand, they can't very well shoot the people across the border,
no.
because that would be a violation of international law. On the other hand, do you think Donald Trump has ever heard of the concept of international law? Right?
What is the concept of international law that he doesn't know much about? And you're supposed to say,
Well, in this case, if you shoot somebody's civilians across the border, that's what's called an act of war.
what about if one of these maverick people that wants to get into this kind of, what if one of them is in a position to throw a tomato at him?
I don't know. He said rocks were going to be considered rifles.
That's it.
I'm not sure what he said about tomatoes.
He said go out.
These guys are probably fairly good at throwing tomatoes since they pick all the tomatoes in America.
I think you're right about that.
Maybe a tomato is just a small arm.
Yeah.
You know,
Because it could look like a bloody.
but it's it's just another of the things. I mean, as I have long said, if either his mouth or his thumbs are moving, he's lying, right? He gets up there and he gives a long inspirational speech about how his dear friend, who was the head of the New York Stock Exchange, and it was very hard. I can't even take the time to tell you what he had to do to get it open, but it was open the day after 9/11, and he told me, you can't let the terrorists, affect your thing. I'm sorry, sir. The New York Stock Exchange reopened on September 17th. And then he gave another speech. He decided this thing, birthright citizenship. This is now the end of the world to him, birthright citizenship.
Gotta stop that.
First of all, he claims that he can change the Constitution of the United States by executive order. If he gives his seismographic signature on a piece of paper, he unilaterally amends the Constitution. Have you ever heard anything more classic definition of a fascist?
Well, wait a minute. How about this guy? What's his name? Kavanaugh. You think he might go along with?
He might go along. Yeah. The thing is that I can see him doing that and being totally repulsed by every honest court in the United States and just appealing it up to the Supreme Court, where Brett Kavanaugh will go, yes, Massa, anything you want, Massa, you can do that. But he gets up there and he gives a speech and he says, it's terrible. We're the only nation on earth that does this, You come in here, you drop a kid as a citizen for the next 85 years. No other country does this.
Yeah.
Right, except for the 31 other countries that do exactly the same thing, including Canada and Mexico.
He doesn't even have any idea about that,
You don't even have to argue his lies anymore. You just Google them, and there they are.
Googling, Googling is good, though.
It's amazing. Now, voter suppression I mentioned.
Yeah.
Right? Dodge City, Kansas, I said before. Now, a court just ruled, I'm sorry, yes, they're violating the people's rights, but it's too late to open a polling station in Dodge City, Kansas. So 13,000 mostly Latino voters, American citizens in Dodge City, Kansas, will have to find some way to get to an adjoining town without any public transportation to vote. In one polling station. The average size of a polling station in Kansas is 1,200 people. This one isn't even in their town and is meant to handle 13,000 people.
Yeah. All right.
And if they're still in line, watch Kansas say, sorry, we're closing.
Now, the president...
Wait a second.
Okay.
They loved this so much that Calvert County, Maryland decided, the Republican County Commission in Calvert County, Maryland decided that election day is a good day to suspend public transportation.
Oh, why not? Yeah.
And then we've got this guy in Georgia who is the grandfather of voter suppression. And now he's complaining. He wants an investigation of the Democrats' attempt to hack the Georgia voter registration system. And then just lastly,
Well, he could ask his pal Putin about that. He'd get an answer.
well, I don't know that this Secretary of State in Georgia knows Putin, but
That's true.
anyway, the Sioux Nation, the Standing Rock Reservation, Redbud Reservation, Rosebud
This is the
Reservation,
best
etc.
story.
They have a slight problem. The state of North Dakota says, you've got to prove you're Americans.
Yes.
We don't believe that members of the Sioux Nation are Americans.
That makes sense.
You know, these like second generation immigrants from I don't know where are telling the Sioux Nation that they're not Americans. And by the way, tribal documents don't count.
Out. That's the best part at the end.
It's just lovely the way they're going on.
Okay. Not bad.
So if we win against all these odds tomorrow, maybe there's a future for us.
Yeah,
And if we don't, there is no future for us.
Well, a guy like Trump, maybe he could swim all around the borders of our country. They had this guy in Britain that did that. You know, he swam all around Great Britain. Took him
it's a little hard.
157 days.
It's a little hard to swim the American-Canadian border.
Yeah, well,
There's a very large dearth of water
well,
there.
he's got to go up. He might have to go up to the
Swim the Northwest Passage,
That's what I.
which
would
is
say.
now open, because of global
And he
warming.
might meet some friendly polar
bears.
bears.
He might even better meet some unfriendly polar bears.
Okay.
That would be useful.
All right. Then there's this guy in Utah. He was a mayor. He's a mayor, and he was killed in Afghan.
Right.
And
Now-
his fourth deployment with the National Guard.
Which he volunteered for. He has
and his brothers, too.
He has 7 young children.
And he went.
The man is a self-absorbed, narcissistic, selfish idiot. And he deserves no sympathy whatsoever.
In Utah, he's a great patriot.
Huh?
He's a great patriot in Utah. The Mormons.
It's ridiculous.
I know. What's his name?
A National Guard guy has no business leaving 7 kids behind to go play cowboy in Afghanistan.
No, he said he felt it was a need, and he was called, and he went.
Certifiable.
Oh,
Certifiable.
Okay. All right. That's how you feel about it. Okay. Then there's in Egypt. There's some bad problems there. They got a man named President Al-Sisi. You remember
That
him?
is so wonderful. Their president is named the Sissy.
Anyway, yeah. I hope that's what he does. Anyways, it's the Islamic State is ambushing these poor
Coptic Christians.
Coptic Christians, and they're killing them. They get off the bus to go into a monastery. It's a pilgrimage, and they're doing this often. And if the Egyptian security forces understand that they're going to attack, why aren't they waiting there for them to greet them properly, with guns and tanks and other things? I don't understand that. Well, anyways, that's a sad little story, I think,
Don't you understand, Michael? They're coming in caravans, one caravan after another. It's an invasion of Egypt.
It's an invasion.
It's an invasion. These are tough guys, very tough guys. We have to protect Egypt from these people.
We gotta. Maybe if they got some religion, they wouldn't do this stuff. That's what I'm saying. Whether it's a Muslim or a Christian.
History indicates just the opposite, Michael.
Okay, if that's how you feel. Fighting in Yemen.
Don't you realize that the vast majority of wars in the history of mankind have been fought over religion?
Yes, I do. And it's bloody awful.
So a little religion has rarely stopped a war.
Okay, fighting in Yemen at the port city of Hodeida. And there are over 150 dead from this.
That's a terrible thing. It's a proxy war. The poor Yemenites have absolutely nothing to do with it. It's in essence Saudi Arabia and Iran
They're going to
flexing
starve.
their
They don't have
muscles
to
at
shoot
each other.
them. They're going to starve to death if they keep it up.
But it's so ridiculous. These are two countries who are fighting a war
Yeah.
at very little risk to themselves
Yes.
in another country. I mean, this is ridiculous, you know? This is like if the United States and Canada decided they wanted to have a live action military exercise and decided to hold it in Costa Rica or something, you know?
Oh, not
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the Big TV Unrehearsed Thespian Society's presentation for tonight,
Okay.
which has a title at least which indicates the way we're feeling on this, the eve of the most important vote in American history. It's called Fretting.
Fretting.
I'm fretting, aren't you fretting, Michael?
Yes.
I'm fretting.
We're both fretting.
Okay. Hey, we're going the classy route tonight.
Get off it.
No hamburgers.
Fettuccine Alfredo.
French onion soup with lots of cheese.
Better.
Ossobuco, scallopini.
And then there's Wiener Schnitzel, and Spatzel.
Okay.
perhaps.
How about gazpacho?
And we start with tapas.
Then paella.
Whatever.
A change in the weather.
It's only a meal.
Let's make it special.
Yeah, why not?
Good.
No limits.
Way to go.
You're not enthused, though.
Well, just give me a chance.
Doesn't matter.
I thought you'd get into it eventually.
Bill's big man. Huh?
Don't worry about me.
He sits there with a long push looking at me.
What, you want to reschedule for next week?
I'll be fine.
Why waste the evening?
Well, you could be right.
Yeah, I probably feel the same.
When I get this page open, probably, yeah, which is,
Depressed.
you usually are,
Hey, you're out of line.
all this bad stuff in the news.
Well, we got an army in Iraq and Syria and Afghanistan,
Insurgents with bombs, and the Taliban, too, waiting.
and the president says we can't cut and run.
It's a bad scene, that's all I know.
Sure, I know. It's disheartening.
We have to finish the job.
Not going to spoil it for you.
Forget it.
You just need a little space.
Layoffs, hurricanes, climbing deficit, torture.
It's not pretty.
President will be back from his political trips.
There's a mood of impatience and angst in the nation.
Yes, the Iraqi army is improving, and the Taliban is talking.
So why is Woodward suddenly recalling things in his new book on the White House?
He couldn't remember Deep Throat for 40 years.
Oh, are you volunteering?
He's too busy with I'm too busy with my investments.
Visiting the sick, gardening, tutoring kids?
Lots of cultural events.
Since when is criticism unpatriotic?
Takes too long.
People are used to sound bites.
I don't like leaders calling it irresponsible,
Right, I feel exactly the same.
but I'm still hungry.
Oh, is that an exit strategy?
Being sad doesn't kill my appetite.
You were always hungry in that POW camp, weren't you, Mike?
Yeah, and miserable, friend.
So, we can still go out, right?
What do you feed? What do you feel like?
What'd they feed you? Let's see, steaks, chops, pie, ice cream, salads?
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. If we do, I pay.
Yeah, when Joe pays...
Everyone pays.
Yeah, thanks. Now, just a second.
Now you know how I feel. A little dismal.
Well, at least you're not on steroids.
Strike three.
All right, foie gras and a fine wine.
An empanada.
No, make it breathe for me.
Kishki. Kasha. Knishes.
Pollo con arroz.
Too ethnic, but he's coming around
I swim a lot. Well, I used to.
while you're eating.
It's a great exercise.
Do you have a home evacuation plan?
Why do you ask that now?
Well, skateboarding is fun too.
Now you're puzzling me, friend.
So are you.
But I'm feeling much better.
You look terrible.
You want to take me to the ER?
Pulling my leg again?
No, just checking your weather report.
That's foolish.
A short-term setback?
You have no arrest record.
Wait, I'm a law-abiding citizen.
So was George.
Oh, you mean Washington?
Yeah, and our George too.
He's still shopping for a bicycle.
Yeah. Yeah, like Santa's a new grand jury foreman.
So how do we grow more jobs and reduce the deficit?
You know how to hurt a guy.
Blackout.
Blackout.
Fretting from the vault here
Okay,
in things.
and then we had a parapet, that's what the paper said, that collapsed in Alston yesterday.
Yes, up at the end of Harvard Street.
That's right in there.
The whole facade of the building, or the whole cornice of the building, just suddenly fell down.
There was a woman.
Woman was seriously injured on the
Yeah,
thing.
seriously injured, no warning, and
I mean,
he was downstairs, the owner.
you want to talk about a Chicken Little moment, right?
Yeah,
The sky is falling. The sky is falling. In this case, it literally was.
well, they said $500,000 damage for that place that he has there, or the Common.
You think they'll fix it, or you think they'll tear it down?
I think he'll fix it. He's making a living
Really?
out of it.
Um,
And wait a minute. I'll
Yes?
tell you something serious.
Okay, good.
The gypsy moth caterpillars are flourishing,
Oh, God.
and they are devastating New England forests.
I hate them.
I do too.
I hate them.
I
I think we should get every Boy Scout in the state out collecting gypsy moths and exterminating them.
Well, they could get a merit badge for that. That's
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
caterpillar thing or something. Yeah, that's not bad though. I like that.
With a little web on it. Oh, that poor thing that terrible thing that happened with the little Girl Scouts out. They were out
It's
picking up trash on the highway, and some guys huffing vapors in their truck killed 3 little girls and one of their mothers and stuff. So,
That's pretty bad, I'd say. And
so
he left.
Hopefully,
He left in a hurry.
Yeah. Hopefully they won't collect gypsy moth caterpillars on the edge of the road.
I hope not. That's
Will
that's
turn
a
out.
terrible story.
Speaking about environmental disasters, there's a really distressing story here in the New York Times about all this water in Venice.
Yeah.
The water is above knee deep
Oh, boy.
in St. Mark's Square.
And they're still in the
There.
restaurants. Yeah.
And there's a picture of people sitting in a restaurant, sitting at their tables, happily eating, waitresses shuffling around in rubber boots. There's about 6 inches of water on the floor, and the people are ignoring it.
Yeah, that's. What do you
They're
think they
pretty
could?
hardy there. In
I'm
those,
surprised they didn't give them fishing rods or something. They might have- they're pretty close.
you catch the eel, we'll cook it for you, or something
Yeah,
like
that wouldn't be bad.
But I mean, that's pretty hardcore.
Yeah, that's hardcore.
Doing that stuff.
And there's a guy named Paul Bierley who broke into a Tallahassee, Florida yoga class shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you hear about that? He killed 2 and he wounded 6.
And there's some suspicion that he's one of those self-identified involuntary celibates.
But a guy named Joshua Quick.
Was quick.
Yeah, he was quick. He grabbed a gun and banged him in the head, and he got him down, and they captured him ultimately.
But I mean, with all the subsets of crazies we have in the world, now we have to deal with this group, involuntary celibates,
Yeah.
who are mad at women probably because they have no social skills or something like that.
And then we have the Air Force is playing football this week against the Army. And so what did they
Coming
do?
or last week?
I don't know, maybe last
This
week.
past weekend, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And what did they? A couple of wise guys were given some kind of directions to do something and nasty to the
And what?
something nasty they were going to do.
To whom?
Well, to show that it was their turn to be nasty to the other people. And so what did they do? They captured a big bird. What the heck was the name of that bird? I can't remember. It's a big one.
Okay.
And the bird objected to that, and they covered it up with a blanket and shoved it in a dog box, and then it got banged up and it was flashing around, and now they're in trouble with the
These
head
were
of
Army guys, I assume.
Yeah, the colonel over at the
Of course, the irony is to you, Michael, the Army and the Air Force are one and the same thing.
Well, no,
You're a
yeah.
veteran of the United States Army Air Corps.
I was in the U.S. Army Air Corps.
Army Air Corps. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again. This is the Fun Show. We will not be here next week. Please remember to go out and vote. And if there's still an America in 2 weeks, the Fun Show will be back. Good night.
Okay, and there will be, I say. And
Okay.
we'll be back.
From your mouth to God's ears. right?
Okay, that's perfect.